Hi, everyone. It's been a nice little minute. I know we are all just getting back from Vegas. I'm Precious Osagiaresa, and welcome to MCBA's Daily Dose, which is our daily show of just trending topics going on in the cannabis industry, as well as all things going on with MCBA. And I'm your host today. We're usually joined by our executive president, Calico Castile. You'll see him later on this week. So I wanted to just kind of use this episode to talk about MJBizCon. Just a quick recap of everything we got to do. Would love to get your thoughts in the comments of what you thought of the conference and just how it situates you going into the new year with cannabis. So feel free to chime in the comments. Nonetheless, I'm going to kick it off with MCBA. So it was myself, Calico, that went on top of many of our board members from MCBA. And honestly, MJBizCon was a great time. It was my first time going to MJBiz. I didn't go previously because COVID happened 2020 and 2021. So this was like my first full spiel. And honestly, it just did not disappoint. While it is massive, it is a huge conference. Literally every and anybody in cannabis was there. I know everyone I've ever encountered in cannabis, I finally got to meet in person. But it was just really a good time. And there was a lot of authentic connections. You would think, because these big conferences, you might not be able to have those one-on-one times, but I would say there were a lot of authentic connections. So shout out to them. So I'll just kind of walk you through how it started for us. MCBA, we got there and we had Associations Day early on. And that was really cool. The Associations Day really highlighted what we as advocacy groups and different associations throughout the country really do, where we don't necessarily have our own space in conferences to showcase that, because many of us are member based, meaning that we look for members to come and join and support our mission, and we don't always get to have those specific conversations. So Associations Day was super cool. You had everybody from, of course, us to MPP, M4MM, the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and we just all got to give our spiel to the audience there about what we're doing in the cannabis space, how we're impacting change, and so on and so forth. So I thought that was really cool. There was a lot of high engagement there, high energy, because it was still at the beginning of the conference. People were still trickling in. This was Tuesday in Vegas, so there was still a lot of time. And during that time, there were a lot of pre-show forums happening in the Westgate. So they had a marketing forum, a hemp forum, an investment forum, and those things just kind of helped peel together, more specific, nuanced conversations on those topics for those who wanted to have those before the main show. So definitely shout out to MJ Biz for Associations Day. I think everyone can agree the feedback I heard was that it was really a hit for associations to be able to kind of really discuss who they are. And I personally met a ton of great people at our table. So please be sure to follow up with me. I am following up with you this week. I know it's Thanksgiving, but it was just so dope to have so many of you understand the work we're doing with MCBA. So we'll follow up. And then that night, shout out to everybody who came out to our kickoff mixer at our suite at the Cosmo. It was purely vibes. You just had to have been there. I'm going to give you a breakdown, but you just had to have been there. We held a mixer where we sent out invitations. Of course, if you were an MCBA member, you got the word about it. And it was really just to build connection. We had drinks and food, and we had the balcony wraparound. Granted, it was a little chilly in Vegas. I know many of us expected it, but didn't expect it to be that cold. But it was just a vibe. So shout out to everyone that came to our kickoff mixer. We've gotten great feedback from that. So we plan to do something bigger and better next year. If you are looking to collaborate with us on those mixers or pre-parties before MJ Biz, feel free to reach out to us, because we had so much great feedback. And we just want to keep putting on, events that are actually going to form connection with other like-minded folks in the cannabis industry. So, of course, after Tuesday, you go to Wednesday, Thursday, which is the full-on conference that happened at the Convention Center in Las Vegas, which was huge. Let's just dive into the expo floor. The expo floor was massive. Kudos to the exhibitors, because you guys put on a show. Some of these exhibits were massive and wild and entertaining and engaging. I'm talking about 3D cameras, real life extraction material, music, food, awesome giveaways and handouts for people who came to your booth. I know those were big lifts for those companies, but the expo floor was just almost unwalkable the whole thing. If you did walk the whole thing, I'm pretty sure it can be equated to a mile or two, probably a little bit more, but it was huge, even if you went all the way to the back. And then there was the second floor, which also had a lot of entertainment, a lot going on. Shout out to Women Grow, who held down a booth where they were empowering different women, had the interviews going on, amplifying voices. And also shout out to Black Cannabis Magazine that had a small forum there to talk about, equity in cannabis, people of color in cannabis. It just built community in these exhibit spaces where usually you just go to a table, you say hi, you might get, a thing or two, you might have a small conversation, but the exhibit floor was absolute nuts. And the convention center had food because I know a lot of us were like, oh my God, I didn't eat all day. I'm still walking the floor. I'm still talking to folks. Every 2 seconds, you're running into somebody. So you barely had time to even recoup before you went into your next conversation. But that was awesome. Now moving on, MJBiz was packed with some of the best and brightest in the industry for panels. I got to sit in a couple. One of them that really stuck out to me was the panel on how the midterm elections will impact cannabis moving forward. And there were just a lot of great women on that panel, from Khadijah Tribble to Safira Galob. Who else was on that panel? There were a couple other women on that panel. Once I get the names, I will drop them in the chat so that you guys can follow them. But what we're really seeing is there is momentum happening with cannabis. I know Missouri and Maryland came through now as our new legalized states, and that should be taken as small wins, because look at where we were, almost a decade ago when it came to cannabis and who was actually moving forward with progressive legislation to legalize. So we know we still have a lot of work to do, but those small wins matter. The big topic, of course, was safe banking, whether or not that will make it past the finish line. So it was good to get insights on just what the political climate is and how that essentially will dictate what policies we're going to be able to get through now that we know that the House have gone to Republicans and now the Senate back with Democrats. What does that change look like when it comes to cannabis policy? So that was super informative. I know a lot of people went to the keynote with Berner from Cookies and really got the insight there on how they've been growing this mega brand globally, and the next steps that they're looking to do to not only promote equity, but also engage a lot of the new markets. And then last and certainly not least, the after events at MJBiz. Chef's kiss to all the event planners. You guys did your thing. I know nobody was bored. Everyone was tired, but somehow, some way, we found a way to get a small dinner and nap in before hitting your 7 p.m.s, 8 p.m.s, and going to multiple activities. I know people who tried to make 4 events in one night, 5 events in one night. More power to you. But essentially, that was just the electricity that was going on. People wanted to continue connecting, and the events weren't short of just amazing. Just from the people you got to meet, the amount of people that attended. Honestly, MJBiz definitely gets an A in my book as a first timer. I would definitely still like to know your thoughts on it. So again, drop it in the comments how you thought your conference was for MJBiz. If you have pictures, share them. We're still sharing our pictures and content from MJBiz, so you'll see that on our social media. And that's about it. So thank you guys again for joining us for another episode for Daily Dose. Be on the lookout for the podcast. It is dropping rather soon. We did get some of you guys interviewed at the conference, so you will see those initial episodes coming up really soon. And then we also have a lot going on towards the end of the year for MCBA, including our next SBES, which we focus on member benefits. All right. So again, you guys have a great Thanksgiving holiday if we do not see you again, but be on the lookout for all MCBA content coming soon. Bye.